So my first match ever at Arm Wars was Jason Hill. I found out about the match about 15 hours before it was going to happen, and it was right-handed. Now, I had been building up to this big left-handed match with David Bradford for months at that point in time, so I said, okay, when Neil Pickup asked you to do a match, you do the match. And so it's at the Arnold, reality check. Jason Hill and I have an amazing match. And to have an amazing match as my first match at Arm Wars was a really, really good start. I think it ended up 4-2, and Jason pushed me on that right arm, an arm that I have very, very little confidence in. And I have to give hats off to Jason Hill because he was a worthy opponent. He was a guy that was right there with me every single match. He pushed me and he made me realize, I think we both had the realization at the same time of Arm Wars being important to both of us. And we fought and we scrapped. And it was right then and there in that match that my brain changed a little bit. My brain switched into Arm Wars mode. And I started thinking of matches at Arm Wars as battles, as wars, instead of just a match to win or lose. It was in that exact moment. I won. I got the glory. I got to scream. I got to yell in front of a crowd of 1,000 people. But more importantly, it set the tone for every Arm Wars event I've been to since. David Bradford. God damn David frickin' Bradford. The left-hand match. Tick-tock, David Bradford. We had a great lead-up to this match. And it was my first left-hand match, and my dominant arm. David Bradford gave me a pretty good whooping. Pretty good, 6-0, nothing too much there. Really, really kicked me down into a hole. But still, very important match for me, because it allowed me to lose in a very public fashion after a very public lead-up, and it hardened me. It hardened me to internet criticism. It hardened me to taking a loss in front of a crowd of big people, and it solidified in my mind that even when you take a big loss, you can still get something out of it. You can still put on a show. That was the number one thing I took out of that match, is even if you lose 6-0, that's not an excuse to go away silently, to just fade away into the night. You still got to be big. You still got to go to that crowd after that loss and say, screw you all, I'll still kick all your asses right here and right now. And I did it, and they booed me. And that is where part of Uncle John was born. Ironhouse. Ironhouse, the original. Kieran Morrison, right hand. Kieran Morrison, left hand. Some of the best matches of my life. Right hand, the javelin. Probably the thing that I will remain known for the rest of my career. The thing that set a world of on fire. The thing that caused the internet to collapse. The thing that actual arm wrestlers just said, that's how you know if you're a real arm wrestler or not. Did you get upset about it? Were you triggered about it? You're probably not very much of an arm wrestler. Great match though. Fun match. Not as fun as the left. That left hand with Kieran Morrison at the original Ironhouse is to date the greatest match of my life. I lost the match 4-2. We had probably 20 minutes of active match time. We warred. We battled. Kieran and I both, a year later, are still suffering from that match. If you want to know what it truly is to go to Arm Wars and put everything on the line, it's about sacrificing the future at some points. When Neil Pickup says, this is a career-ending death war, that's not a euphemism. That is a real thing. That is something that will affect you in the future, but guess what? That match will never go away. I will go back to that match 30 years from now, 40 years from now, And I'm going to hopefully be sitting there with Kieran Morrison being like, how fucking stupid are we? What a couple of knuckleheads we are. And we'll laugh and we'll fucking love it. And I'll show it to as many people as I can. That's something that will never be able to be taken away from me. And I will eternally be grateful for that match. As good as the match with Kieran was on the left, that was my second left-hand match at Iron House. The first was against Maynard Nentias. And it was another very interesting learning lesson. Maynard wiped the floor with me. We had to stop the match. It was such a bloodbath. But again, there's always something to be taken. And I took something incredibly important, a friendship with Maynard Nentias. The Thing and I, there's something wrong in both of our brains. And there's something that we bring out in each other that takes us right to the moon. And ever since that match with Maynard, he's been the guy in my corner and I've been the guy in his corner. And when I'm deep in a match and Maynard says, John, look at me now. And he gets my attention right here, brings it all right in. Forever, every Arm Wars match, it's gonna be Maynard. Every single time, and I'll damn well be there in his corner too, because it's rare that you can have an interaction, have a match with a guy like that, have him beat you so soundly, and it comes out so positively. I will be forever grateful for that ass kicking because it's given far more to me than it's taken away. So after Iron House 1, a lot of things have happened. I've been up, I've been down, I've been threatened by the internet community to be banned for life, to be fined. I have considered retiring. I'm ready to quit. I'm ready to come back in. A lot of emotions leading up to Iron House 2. Like, I want to be clear that I was incredibly close to quitting the sport altogether. But when Neil Pickup calls me, and he says, I got something for you. I got something for you. There's just some kind of fire that never quite goes out in the heart of the arm wrestler. Especially when Neil says, what I've got for you is a world's strongest man competitor. Now, believe it or not, my goal in this sport is to make arm wrestling bigger. I want arm wrestling to be mainstream, so when I'm 60, 70 years old, I can still be talking about arm wrestling. So I can make a career out of talking about arm wrestling, and I can see the next generation coming up, and everybody's making money, and everybody can train for this sport as hard as we already do, and get something more out of it. And that's why I'll never say no to Arm Wars.
B-side. This is for the win from these men.